Hello and welcome to another video on AV Forums. I'm Phil Hinton, the site editor, and in this video we're going to go through the best picture settings for the TCL C845 TV. We're going to go through the settings for SDR, standard dynamic range, so that's any content that you can play on the TV that's not HDR, so that's your TV tuner, Blu-rays, DVDs, that kind of thing. So we're going to go through the settings for that first of all. We'll then go through the settings for HDR10. You will need to find yourself some HDR10 content. You can find that on streaming services like Disney+, Netflix and Prime Video. And then we're going to go through Dolby Vision settings, and again you'll need to get yourself some Dolby Vision content to play on the TV so we can set those settings. So that's what we're going to do in this video, and the first thing that we're going to do is bring up the picture menu and the picture preset that is best for the content that you want to watch. So you want to watch content as it was mastered and intended to be seen. The best setting on the TCL is movie mode. It unfortunately doesn't have filmmaker mode, so we'll just need to go through and check a few of these settings. And one of the really annoying things is that this menu switches off quite quickly. So we're going to go through quite quickly here and just check that we have set this correctly. So picture presets, movie brightness we'll leave at default, color we'll leave at default, we'll go to advanced settings, and then the brightness settings in here, and there's not a lot that we need to do here. Just make sure dynamic contrast, black stretch, dynamic brightness are all switched off, and that local dimming is switched to high. You need that at high to get the full dynamic range from this TV in terms of how the local dimming algorithm works. So make sure that local dimming is set to high. Local contrast is set to off, and gamma, to get the best gamma for a dark room you want to take that up to 4. You may find that in a bright room 0 is the best setting. You need to have it in your room and then just move the slider from left to right or right to left, depending on your lighting will depend on what your gamma setting is. We are setting it to 4 on this occasion. So that's brightness. Color, we don't really need to do anything in here, we just need to make sure that it is set to warm. That is the correct setting. And then in clarity, you just want to make sure that all of these are switched off, probably apart from gradation clear, which you can have on low. If you're watching really bad SD material, digital noise reduction and noise reduction may help, but what it does do is it tends to scrub detail from really high detailed content like 4K, so you want to keep that switched off if that's your source. Motion, standard refresh, you're going to leave that as standard. If you're gaming on the TV, then you can go in there and move it to performance mode, which improves the input lag. But for film content, TV content, leave that to standard. Motion clarity, leave that switched off. The set will do correct 5.5 pull down for 24 frames per second content. And then dynamic acceleration, leave that off as well. What that does is it emulates 240 Hz, but it does that and halves the resolution. You don't need that for watching TV and film content. So that is SDR set up on this TV. We don't need to do anything else. Next, we're going to go to HDR10. So now we're feeding it at high dynamic range. We keep it in movie mode. That is the best mode to watch content as it was mastered and intended to be seen. You could use the IMAX enhanced mode, but movie is perfectly fine. So we're going to use that, and we're just going to go through and check everything else. So brightness at 100%, then go into advanced settings, and the brightness settings, both brightness and contrast should be maxed out. We'll make sure that dynamic contrast, black stretch and dynamic tone mapping are switched off. Dynamic tone mapping will really change the brightness levels of the TV and take it well away from what the standards say HDR should look like. So you want to keep that switched off. So dynamic tone mapping, you want to keep that switched off because it does over brighten the PQ EOTF curve away from standard, and if you want to see things as they were supposed to be seen, then dynamic tone mapping should be left off. Local dimming to high, local contrast switched off, and gamma at 0 should be fine for the vast majority of your content, but if you're watching in a darker room, you may find that going to 3 gives you that little bit more pop to the image and a little bit more correct towards what it should look like. Color settings, we don't need to do anything in here, just make sure again that we are on warm. Clarity settings, again, you don't really need anything on here. HDR sources are usually 4K, which is high quality sources, so you don't even need gradation clear. Although I have found with some content having it just on low does help. It doesn't scrub too much of the detail. And then again, motion, refresh rate, we're going to leave that as standard. Motion clarity, leave it switched off. Dynamic acceleration, you're going to leave that switched off as well. And that's all the HDR10 settings. Next, we're going to go to Dolby Vision. So we're now feeding the TV a Dolby Vision signal. I'm playing the Spears & Mansell demo disc. That demo disc I can move between SDR, HDR10 and Dolby Vision. So make sure you are playing Dolby Vision content so you get this menu here. So picture preset, the correct one to see it as it was mastered and intended to be seen is Dolby Vision Dark. Some of you may be interested in Dolby Vision IQ. I would avoid that because what it does is it switches frame interpolation on, so you get ultra smooth looking content. The problem with that is you cannot switch it off. So Dolby Vision Dark is the correct settings here if you want to watch things as they're intended to be seen and still have access to most of the controls here. I'm going to go down to advanced settings and into brightness, and again there's nothing for us really to do in here, and you'll notice that some of these settings are now removed because we're in Dolby Vision mode, which tries to get things as the creator intended, so we don't need to adjust anything in there. We're going to go to color, and again we're just checking that we're set to warm. So with this being Dolby Vision, everything should be switched off so you see it as the creator intended. Again, we're talking about high quality source here. Motion, again, now motion clarity is switched on by default in the Dolby Vision preset, but they're set to 0, so it's having no effect whatsoever, and correct 5.5 pull down is being applied to 24 frames per second film content. And that's everything that we need to do with this TCL C845. These settings here can be used for any TCL 2023 TV with the same menu system. If you've enjoyed this video, then please do give it a like and come back and see more settings videos very soon on AV Forums. Thanks for watching.